everyone, Cherie Wayman here. I want to show you today how to create a simple image on Silhouette Studio using the basic drawing tools. We're going to use the ellipse and the rounded rectangle mainly, and this will create a gnome for us. The image will be able to be used for printing cut, straight cut, and paper piecing. Let's start with an ellipse. We go over to the left hand side where the drawing tools menu is and select ellipse. We're going to draw two ovals that will be used for a beard and a hat. So I'm just going to duplicate this oval by right hand click, copy, right hand click, paste. We also want a nose for the gnome and a bobble for the top of his hat, and that's going to be a circle. Again, we select the ellipse, and this time we hold down the shift button on the keyboard to create a circle. Copy and paste again, and so we have two circles. We can adjust the size as necessary in a moment. Back over to the ellipse, and we're going to create a couple of feet for the gnome, and these are going to be ovals horizontally. Make those a little larger. And we're going to cut that in half so the foot is flat. You've clicked on the knife on the left hand menu, and we want to drag it through the object here. Delete one of them because they're not going to be exactly the same size, and recreate this by copying and pasting. Next we want hands. Again, another ellipse, a little chunky one here, and a long thin one to create a thumb. We're going to zoom in to look at this a little more closely, and if you don't know how to use the zoom, that's up at the top of the menu. You have three magnifying glasses, a zoom in, a zoom out, and one for fine detail. I'm going to select the fine detail for this, so click on it, release, take your cursor down to the area you want to look at, and click again, and it brings it in very close for you. Let's drag the thumb element over to the larger oval and swivel it round using this little green button at the top, so the thumb is sticking out. Bearing in mind that everything we're drawing here is a cut line, if we wanted to have a mitten or a hand, as we like to call it, in this particular state you've got three different elements that will be cut out, and that's not what we want. We want to weld them together so we have one complete outline and no lines in the middle. To do that, let's select both those items, and on the quick menus at the top we have a weld button. Let's click on that, and they are welded together. I want to slice off the top of this so we have a flat edge for the hand, and so we're going to go back over to the knife, click on that, and slice through We don't particularly need this part of it, so it's right-hand click and delete. The mitten may want to be extended a little bit, but we want to also check to see how it looks against a body shape. So we'll zoom out a little bit because we need to create a body. Over to the left-hand side, and we're going to use the rounded rectangle now. Drag that out onto the page. And what you can see here is we have two little dots that are little control buttons that can control the shape and angle of the corners. I think that will do me for the shape of the body, but because we have it in this mode, we won't be able to edit it any further. So I need to create this particular image into a path, and to do that we select it, right-hand click. I'm not sure you can see that on the screen, so I'll just drag it up a little bit. Right-hand click, convert to path. So we have a nose and a bobble, a hat and a beard, some feet and one hand so far. Let's work on the body. I want the body to flare out at the bottom, so I'm going to double click on the body, and now we have the edit points I was talking about. When you double click, you get this little menu up at the side here, and it gives you options on what to do with the various points on the body. If I click on one now, these are now accessible for you to use. I want to drag the body shape out, so I'm going to use these particular points and just drag them each way. I don't want these points because I want it to be a smooth line down. So I'm going to click on this one and go up and delete point. You can do the same on the left-hand side. You don't have to go up to the menu. You can right-hand click and delete point. You have options. Okay. The body probably needs to be a little longer, so if you select it, you have these little square points around the edge which allow you to adjust the height, the width and the size of the image. By using the ones in the middle, they will affect the original shape proportion, but if you use the ones on the corners, it will adjust the size according to the proportions originally made. Let's create a beard. Double click to get the points. The beard I want to have is going to be a little pointy, so I'm dragging it down a bit more and also making it curve to the right just to give it a bit of shape. You'll see that we have blue handles here, and if I move one of them, you will see that it affects not only the 2 points here, but also these 2 points. And on the menu up the top, you can see that it's selected a smooth point editor. To stop both points reacting in the same way, you can click on the corner one, and you'll see that only one point works at a time now. Each of these have got their benefits, and it doesn't really matter too much for this, but now that I have it in this score, I'm going to continue to use it. This is the beard. I can see immediately that it's way too large for the body, so I'm going to click on the selector tool and just reduce it down in size. I can now see that the hand is way too large for the body. So let's reduce that down in size and turn it into a jaunty angle. And now I need to replicate that for the other hand. Right hand click, copy, right hand click, paste. And I want the thumb to be on the inside. So right hand click, flip horizontally. And we can see that the hands fit okay within the body shape. The feet look too large, but let's take those down to the body. I'll move the whole body up. And I need to lengthen the body because there's no room for the feet and the beard at the moment. Okay, all we're doing is temporarily putting them into place to see how it all looks. I need a hat. Do you need a hat? I need a hat. Double click on the edit points and on the top bit lengthen that one. The body's in the way. I'm moving it up a bit more. Double click. Let's bring the hat over and give it a jaunty little angle. And again, we have these little handles here. Just work them around until you get what you want in the shape. I want to cut the hat off here because all of this is unnecessary. So we're going back over to the knife and cutting through and deleting the bottom part. Let's make the hat a little longer. Bring the body down. And put the hat over the top. We need the edges of the hat to match the body. So we can either reduce the body at the top or enlarge the hat. And I think the easiest way forward on this particular image is to widen the hat. Let's put the bobble on the end of the hat. And the nose there. It's a bit of a chunky little gnome, isn't he? Let's see if we can do something about changing his shape a little bit. I'm going to center that on the page a bit more. And using these little points here on the body, I'm going to draw them in. The hat can now be reduced in size to accommodate it. Okay, I think that will do. At this point, we have everything we need to cut out a gnome. In this particular version, these are all different elements that can be cut out separately and cut out onto coloured paper, fabric, card, and recreated in a paper piecing or a fabric applique way. So we can drag them all out, set them all up on the paper on screen so that these will cut in different colours on whatever mediums you want, and then piece them together manually. However, if you don't want to do that, you would rather just create the gnome on screen, colour it in and have it printed directly without having to cut out all the pieces, you can do that too. We just need to adjust the cutting lines for this. Let's hit the undo just for a moment until we bring everything back into order on the screen. I love that undo button, it works a treat for me. I'm going to copy and paste and take one version off to the left so it's not on the screen, and if we need to go back to it we can. Doesn't seem like I copied and pasted the bobble though. There we go. If you go to the cut screen, which is up on the right hand side under send, you will see that every part of this is going to be cut, and therefore where the hat overlaps the body you're going to have all these weird shapes that you don't really want. So what you need to do is create it so that it's just the outline shapes that will be being cut. Let's go back to the design and give some colour to it so this helps us understand. Let's select the bobble first, go over to the colour palette, give it a little colour. The hat, the body, and straight away you can see that the body is overlapping everything, so let's just move that out of the way for a moment. The beard needs to be white. I'm going to give the nose, the gnome Rudolph nose. The mittens, I'll select both of those and have another green and orange for the feet. I think we've covered everything off, but if I bring the body back you can see that it's a bit of a strange look now because you can't see all the features of the gnome. We need to change the order of the objects on the screen. What you need to know is that when you create objects on a screen, the last object created is the one that's uppermost, and pretty much the body was it. So we need to send that to the back, and if you select it and go up to the menu here, you have an option to bring to the front, send to the back, move forward, move backward. Well, we want to send it right to the back. You can't see anything working on the screen, but let's bring it back over to the gnome and everything is now visible to you. The bobble is on top of the hat, the nose is on top of the hat, the beard is on top of the body, the mittens are on top of the body, and the feet are on top of the body. Let's just make sure everything's as we want it in alignment. So let's select the mittens. Shift and click selects both of them. I want them parallel. So we go up to the alignment option at the top here and select the horizontal one, and they are parallel, which is good. I'm going to now group them so that if I need to move them again, they move as one. The feet, if we go in close, are not at the bottom of the body, nor are they joined. Let's zoom out a little bit, that's a bit too close. Select both the feet, let's make them parallel too. Group those together. Select the body and go up and make the two bottoms of the feet and the body at the same level. Zoom out. Let's see what's going on with the beard and the nose. I'm going to move the hat away. Right, I think that's fine. The nose can be above the beard. And we want the hat underneath and the bobble on top. Right, I think that's fine. So let's select it all now. Go back to the send screen. And once again, we still have all these red lines around. So let's just tell it to cut the edge. And all the other red lines have disappeared. So the only cutting edge on this image now is the outside. Back to the design. And for the print and cut option, where you just print out this image as it is with these colours, you can send that straight to the printer now. Over here on the top left is send to printer. If you click on that, it will bring up your printer screen and your printer options, and you can print that onto paper. What you can't do at the moment is bring that paper back to the mat and cut it out, because if you put the printed paper onto the mat as it is, the Silhouette has no idea where the image is on the page. So what we need to do is create some registration marks. We want to go over to the right hand side and click on Page Setup. At the very top we've got three icons, and the one on the far right is for registration marks. If we select the On button, you can now see that we have registration marks on the page. You have a little black square and two thin lines on two of the corners. You also have some cross-hatching. The cross-hatching doesn't get printed out on the paper, but the darker lines and the square do. What you need to make sure of is, first of all, that you have the right size paper for your printer. And you can see that by going back to the page setup, click on the first icon at the top there. Check the cutting map. I've got it selected for 12 inches and the media size A4, so that means that will fit into my printer. You also need to make sure that your image is within the confines of the cutting red line here and does not interfere with any of the cross-hatching or the registration marks. Because when you resend it to the Silhouette for cutting, anything that is overlapping in these areas may confuse the registration reading and it may not cut in the right place. So now we're ready to send this to the printer. As I said, you go up to the menu at the top, select the printer icon, go to your printer settings, check in preview to see if it all fits on the page appropriately and all your printer settings match the size of paper and orientation of it. Once it's printed, put the completed print back onto your, onto your silhouette mat. If it's a portrait mat, then this should fit pretty much exactly. But if you're using a 12 by 12, make sure that the paper is put onto the mat in a similar situation as it is on screen. Once it's on the mat, feed it in and send to cut, and it will just cut out the outline of the printed image. Now, we've done the print and cut, but you can have another way in which to cut for paper and fabric piecing. So I'm going to select this gnome, copy and paste, take one over to the side because we always want to be able to use it again if we make a mistake. And at the moment, if you remember, all of this is only going to print as an outline. So I want to select it all again, go back to the send button on the top right, and select cut. And once again, you can see all the different elements are going to cut independently. Let's go back to the design. It may be that when you want to do paper or fabric piecing that you don't want the elements to overlap as we have on this particular drawing here. What we want to do is cut in and around so that the shapes match exactly. We'll start with the bobble and the hat. We click on the bobble and we click on the hat, so we've got those both selected. The bobble is on the top, so what we want to do is have the hat cut so that it is in the shape of the bobble here. To do that, we need to go over to Modify panel and select the Subtract All button here, and you can see that it cuts away. So let's try that. You may not have seen very much happen on the screen. Let's just go in a little bit closer. And if I click on the bobble and just move it away, you can see it's now cut into the hat. I'm going to hit the undo so the bobble goes back to its correct place. And what we're going to do is that for the rest of the image as well. So it should save fabric. It will also make it a more even construction of the piecing at the end. I'm going to move the nose out the way because we want to see the beard situation, and I want the beard to cut into the hat, and as we can see the beard is sitting on top of the hat, so that should work. We'll click the hat now and we'll click the Subtract All, and now let's just move the beard and you can see that the hat has been cut. We also want the beard to cut into the body, so do the same thing there, and we want the hat to cut into the body. Subtract there. We've got some really odd little pieces left, so perhaps what we need to do before we go any further is edit those out, because that's not going to be very nice when you're trying to cut out. We'll zoom in, and I think the easiest way to do this is take the knife across, because we also have this line here. If we move the beard away, you can see we have this very dotty line that's going to create lots of little cuts. So select the body, go to the knife and just cut off as close as you can to that line. Select all the little bits. Now you can see all the little cuts that would have happened there. I'm going to zoom out to make sure I haven't selected anything else. Right hand click, delete. That was the simplest way. We want to take the beard back. We want to take the hat back. Okay, so now that we've done that, we also want to cut out the mittens into this body. Select the body and the mittens and then subtract all. And you can see that the mittens have cut out as well. And the same for the feet and the body. Now, if we look at the feet, we have the same situation as we had at the top of the body. Let's zoom in. We have this line. So I think the simplest thing to do there again is the knife. And let's just skim a little bit off the bottom. Select it and delete. Put the feet back. Now, when you cut out the different pieces, they will slot in to the holes in the fabric, in the paper, and you've got no overlapping there. It's your choice, you don't have to do it that way, but it just gives you another option. What I've forgotten to do is the nose, and I want that right on top of the beard. So we have the beard and we have the nose. Let's make sure that they are level at the top, and we want to subtract that as well. In fact, I'm going to take it off the body because I'm not sure if that has any effect. Okay, so we've got a little bit there. If we look closely, we just need to ungroup, select that and delete. To be fair, looking at this, these are very sharp and they will not be very nice to cut. So I'm going to use my favourite undo button. Go back to the undo so we haven't cut it out. I'm going to take this circle a little higher. Oh, in fact, we haven't undone it enough yet. Undo, undo. Take the nose a little higher so it cuts through totally. Select the beard, subtract all, and that should be a better cut for us. There you are, that's better. Take the beard back, take the nose back, and that's how it will look when it's all pieced together. But for the purpose of cutting, we can break them apart so that you once again can select the coloured paper, card or fabric to cut out each piece individually and make sure you have the pieces placed on your screen to match the fabric or the card on the cutting mat. If you don't quite understand what I'm talking about there, I'm just going to pull this off to one side and mimic some paper and card on the cutting mat. So I've got a couple of rectangles. I'm just going to copy and paste, copy and paste. Give them some colour. Copy and paste. Copy and paste. And you just need a white rectangle as well, don't you? Copy and paste. Obviously on the cutting mat you'll lay these out so that they are big enough to accommodate all the elements that you want cut out. I'm going to copy these and paste them, and whoops, that didn't work. Copy, paste, bring them over, but I'm going to take all the colour out of them and bring them to the front so that you can see them. I'm going to change that colour because you can't see it. Okay, so there's the nose, there's the hat. Oop. I meant to move the hat, not the fabric, and you can see it's not the right size, so you would have to make everything fit. So I'm just playing with this now just to show you how you can work it all out. So that's the nose and the bobble for the hat. This is the beard. Let's see if we can get the beard on there. Doesn't want to play. It needs to be slightly larger. Okay. Then we have the feet. They're not too large, so this rectangle of paper, card, whatever you want it to be, doesn't have to be so large. The mittens certainly don't need to be that size, but let's just get them on. Reduce it down. And for this purpose, the mittens don't need to be at this distance from each other. They can be ungrouped and closed up. Let's group that together. Group that together. That's like already grouped this one together. The beard. the feet, the mittens. You need to make this larger to fit the hat. It may be that you have to send the mat through twice with different elements on, but if you work it right, you might be able to get all of them on to the screen together. But bearing in mind, you need to make sure that your elements are all within this cutting area. So you need to move them around until that works for you. So they do all fit on and they all match the same size as the gnome. But of course you can make everything smaller, you don't have to have the gnome that size, but that will complete your project. And if you go to the send screen just to see what it looks like, obviously these coloured areas won't be cut lines because they're actually on the cutting mat. It's the areas in here that will cut out. So that's it. That's your gnome. You've been able to cut it out as a print and cut. You've been able to draw it in the first place, and you can paper piece and fabric applique with it too. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and if you like it and want to see more, please subscribe and like my channel. This is Cherie Wayman from Fanklemade. Thank you very much for watching.